Hello everyone, I'm Lynn Coda. I'm the superintendent for the Franklin Northeast Supervisor Union.
And I'm Morgan Daybell, the business manager for Franklin Northeast.
In the work we've been doing around our new school district budgets, we've had several common questions that have come up, so we wanted to take an opportunity to produce a few short videos to be able to help to answer some of those most common questions. Morgan, we're hearing a lot in the media around this narrative that tax rates across the state are going up 18, 19, 20%. Can you tell us a little bit about the real impact that we're seeing in FNESU? I think our community members are really interested in how are our decisions going to impact their tax bills in real dollars for, maybe $100,000, a $200,000, a $300,000 home. What's the dollar amount and what's the percentage increase on their tax rates?
Certainly, and the narrative is much different up in Franklin Northeast. So I'll talk about our projected tax rates. We obviously don't know what the final tax rate is until the legislature sets its yield bill and adjourns for the year. But with the best information we have right now, in Enosburg, Richford, as you can see on the chart on the screen, for someone who has a property that's valued at $100,000, we're anticipating an education tax next year of $1,414, $14 above last year, about a 1% increase. In Richford, because of that massive change in the CLA, we're seeing a much bigger increase there. Proportionally, an increase on a $100,000 home there would be about $112, or roughly a 13% increase. So even though their tax rate is, their tax bill is significantly lower than a similarly appraised property in Enosburg, they are seeing a big increase year over year from last year. On the Northern Mountain Valley side, the CLAs are much closer to each other, and so we don't see quite as much of a difference. On a $100,000 house in Bakersfield, we're anticipating a $15 increase, again about 1% there. In Berkshire, it's about a 2% increase, or $27 on a $100,000 home. In Montgomery, about a 2.5% increase, or $34 on a $100,000 home. And in Sheldon, we're actually anticipating a decrease in their tax bill by $14, or a drop by about 1%. So you'll see, even with the wide range across our 6 towns, we are not anywhere near that 18 to 20%. That is part of that statewide narrative.
Great. Thank you, Morgan.
So another way that the statewide narrative in Franklin Northeast is very different than the statewide narrative globally in Vermont is related to student enrollment and those enrollment trends. What would you like to say about that?
One of the narratives that's happening across the state of Vermont is that our student enrollment is declining really significantly. That's not really what's happening in FNESU. So let's start with the enrollment slide related to students in the Enosburg and Richford district. So as you can see, we have some real data that reflects what our October 1st enrollment numbers were from 2019 to 2023. And then we have some projected enrollment data from 2024 through 2028. You can see that our enrollment has been pretty steady, except for that 2020 line where we saw some declining enrollment related to the pandemic. And since then, we've seen our numbers come back up and then start to stabilize. So you can see that we're not really seeing that trend of a large number of students declining in our schools. In fact, it's quite different. We're seeing some increases in some of our schools and some stability in others. So we're not really contending on the Enosburg-Richford side. On this slide, this data reflects enrollment for the 4 schools in the Northern Mountain Valley District. The red line at the bottom reflects data related to Bakersfield Elementary. The blue line reflects data related to Montgomery, green is Berkshire, and red is Sheldon. Again, this is some of the real-time data goes up to 2023, and projected data is 2024 and beyond. So you can see that our student enrollment data is pretty stable in Bakersfield, Montgomery, and Berkshire, and it's projected to remain relatively stable. We're seeing in our community of Sheldon that we've had pretty substantial increases in our student population, and we're projecting that that sharp rise in student population will continue through 2028. So again, this is another example of how our student enrollment is bucking the statewide trend of declining enrollment. I hope this video has helped you to understand how FNESU is different than the statewide narrative that you may be hearing in the media.